Hello, and welcome to Mr. America, The Bearded Truth, covering political and social issues one liberty at a time, with entertaining insights of current events and important discussions on topics that affect us all, shining the torch of liberty and brightening the future by bringing libertarianism into our everyday life. And now, your host, the friendly neighborhood libertarian, Jason Lyon, Mr. America, The Bearded Truth on Muddied Waters Media.
Properties. Hey, testing 1 2. Hey, there we go. So now that you guys have missed all of my intro, let me give it to you again. Oh, thank you guys so much for being here. So glad you guys are here. So glad that you guys took the time to hop in here tonight. We've got an amazing show. I've got the one, the only Jack Casey, the author of the Royal Green series. He's coming on tonight to talk to you guys about doing your part in this liberty movement. And so I'm incredibly excited for that. But before we get into that, we of course have to do some of the housekeeping. We got to show some love for those who've shown love to us. So the first love sharing point transaction that we have to give thanks to, of course, is to Matt and Spike, the owners of this wonderful platform, Muddy Waters Media. Thank you guys so much for giving me an opportunity, a platform to come out here to talk about my opinions, my views, my perspective on what's been going on, and of course about the philosophy. Could not be doing it without you guys, and love you guys and appreciate you guys all so much. And just a quick little fun little bit of information for you all. This weekend I'm actually going to be hanging out with Matt and Spike. They'll be here up here in the upstate, and so we're gonna have a good time with that, and I'm so excited for that opportunity. So I'll get to say thanks in person for you guys getting to see the show every Monday night, with the exception of one Monday every month where we do the Liberty Roundtable, which you guys will see next week. But thank you guys so much for wherever you're hearing this from, whether you guys are hearing this on your favorite streaming app, Facebook, YouTube, Float, Twitch, Twitter, or if you're listening to it on the go with your podcast on any and all of your favorites. Thank you guys so much for doing this. And of course, like us, share us out on all of your favorite platforms. Give us the best reviews you can. If there's a review available, find us on Google. Help support the stream, help us get out there. Love you guys all so much for helping out. And of course, if you guys want to help make Muddy Waters that much better, you can of course become a Mudsketeer if you go on over to anchor.fm/Muddied Waters /subscribe. You go on over there for the price of just a couple lattes a month. Couple lattes within a month. You skip a couple of them, go ahead and throw that over. You're gonna make Matt and Spike so much happier, because they're gonna pump out even more exclusive content that you get nowhere else but by being a Mudsketeer and getting on over there, anchor.fm/Muddied Waters /subscribe. And of course, if you guys want to rep Muddied Waters everywhere you go, because you love us all so much, and I know, I don't blame you. You guys can head on over to muddywatersmedia.com/store, buy the merch, rep it. You want to show it off on your phone case, you want to show it off on your neckerchief, on your gaiter, on your mask, shirts, sweatshirts. You want to throw it on your kids because, you know, this is clearly a kid-friendly show. We've got it all there for you at the merch store. Get on over there, muddywatersmedia.com/store. And of course, we got to talk about some of the people who have helped us in other transactional ways. And of course, we got to start off with the one, the only. No, we're not going to talk about his yet. Let's talk about Kelsey Lion Designs. Graphic designs are so incredibly important for everything. If you look around on my screen right now, if you look in the bottom middle, you look on the top right, those were made by the one, the only Kelsey Lyon. I'm so incredibly excited about this woman. She is amazing. She is fantastic. She has helped on so many different campaigns, from Ashley Shade, who was one of the one out of the 150 to 200 libertarians elected last week. Up there in Massachusetts, you have Joe Jorgensen, Spike Cohen, Natalie Bruno, who's running for governor of Oklahoma, or businesses out the wazoo. If you're looking for something with graphic designs, get on over there for design solutions and strategies with Kelsey Lyon by going to kelseylyondesigns.com. Make sure you guys put in the code Muddied Water. She'll get you 10% off your first purchase or first package plan. Get on over there, help support her. Also want to give a quick shout out to the Greasy Porcupines. With seeing the economy shuttering and seeing people struggling to be able to take care of something so incredibly important as their vehicle, gets them to and from work, gets them around, and makes life livable. My man Alex Flores came through in a big way, creating Greasy Porcupines, where it's almost like Uber for a mechanic, where he can give you roadside assistance, tune-ups, maintenance, oil changes, etc. But the special thing is, the important part of this is that it's pay what you want and what you can. So go on over there, greasyporcupines.org, check them out. This guy is absolutely fantastic. So he's currently servicing Arizona and working towards building it nationwide. So get on over there, help the man out. greasyporcupines.org. Fantastic. Algorithm all the way. Love it. And for this one, which I'll leave it up for a second, I'm not going to talk about it. I mean, I like the guy a little bit, a lot of bit, some amount of bits, if you will, but might as well hear it from himself. The author of the Royal Green series, a fantastic man who will love to discuss the philosophical side of libertarianism, of minarchism versus anarchism. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's a unifier and a bridge burner. It's this beautiful concoction of a man that has been both inspirational and frustrating, depending on which side of the aisle you're sitting on. But nonetheless, let's bring him in, Mr. Jack Casey himself. How are you, good sir?
That was a perfect description.
It fits. It fits.
It does. It does. I feel the same way.
Yeah, we have our different vibes on different issues, and sometimes, sometimes it's worth building those bridges, and sometimes
frustrate
it's
the hell out of myself.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to put an M80 on the bridge, like
yeah, burn a few,
decisions
build a
were
few
made,
back.
and it's okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, I can't pull it up without pulling it up over this way. What
oh, yeah.
What is this?
The hell is this? What the hell is this?
Vampires and witches rule the world to keep us safe, just like they always have, haven't they? What does this mean? Where can they find out more information? What's going on?
I decided after these last 6 months and working hard to get my my labor of love, my passion project, the Royal Green series out. After many long nights and struggling and telling myself, just get this done, and then you can get back to other things and leave writing alone for a bit. I, of course, then immediately decided, no, not done. I got more to say and more to do. And this is my new little project, kind of an experiment. A lot of writers do this thing in November where they try to write a whole book in the month of November. I thought that sounded fun, but mine's sort of in the spooky kind of Halloween theme vibe. So I'm giving it a shot, but it's going to be kind of a short story or almost like a mini series that could be like a sort of pilot season. And I just want to make fun of our society and the coronavirus thing and everything happening right now, because guys, I was fortunate enough that the things I was writing about before had enough like themes and parallels that you could kind of draw to our situation right now, just like government in general and authoritarianism and all that. But now that I've finished that, this was my chance to just go all out and just make fun of everything that's happened the last year and a half and the point we're at, and hence the parody of if vampires and werewolves and witches took over, we're running things and drinking our blood, and if we had just decided that was okay and normal, and
I mean, you gotta trust the science, right? But
yeah,
that's beautiful. I'm still stuck on one thing that you said. So authors are just taking the month of November to like pour amount of insufferable time into making a book and hoping that it's gonna be good. It sounds so for somebody who's not an author. Clearly, I barely know how to read most days. That sounds like November, where it's just like you just want to suffer, and the entire time you're like, "Can November be over already? I'm done with this."
It's right. It's like the opposite, but creatively. It's like nut creatively as hard and fast as you can in the month of November. To put it delicately, yeah.
Because this is a family show, I'm gonna share with you. So the female bottlenose dolphin, they recently found out that they excrement this fluid that causes the male to get aroused and to ejaculate over and over and over again. So I feel like this is you guys. You guys are just like, November's here. Just pour it on me. Let me just ejaculate all of this literature during the month of November. Now that I've lost the interest of everybody.
The memes are, I can hear them being made right now. I can see them.
So I do.
Yes, but that's a great analogy. Sure. Yeah, I think so.
I want to dive into, of course, tonight's topic, because kind of as you framed it, even we have a culture, we have a society, we have a political reckoning going on right now where there's so much changing, and arguably the way that all of us libertarians are looking at this is we're going straight down into the shitter. And so with that understanding, right, the economy is on teetering on collapse. We've got society at each other's throats, right, over COVID, over the Rittenhouse and that trial. We've got like so many different like small social things that are just causing people to stay at each other's necks. With the,
we're all on edge.
With the parties being so far divided and everything else, we're getting to a point where there's concerns for in the future of a revolution of sorts, of like a civil war and everything else. And so this was really how we got to this conversation, was like, what could we be doing what do we need to be doing during those times? But of course, this is also what we need to be doing today. And so this is why I framed it as doing your part. So we have so much of this stuff that is volatile and scary. What can we be doing in our lives? What should we be doing in order to promote liberty? What bridges can we be building? All these things, all these topics all just come down to, Jack Casey, be the authoritarian for us. Tell us what do we need to do in order to make society better on the individual basis.
As Supreme Lord Casey, I know for me, I know I reached that point in my life where I had these creative ideas or pursuits and these things that I knew made me happy to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's actually a big part of it. Not only finding your role like in the party, in the movement, trying to change things, but also like artistically and creatively, and like finding the things that just make your soul happy, and connecting them to the stuff we talk about and fight for, and connecting to people through those things, so that we don't just sound like, a skipping CD talk about only libertarian stuff, but that we can actually also connect to people on like, everything from movies to music to other entertainment, or just the jobs we work, things we do to have to pay the bills. And to not assume that our focus only has to be on the politics itself, but to kind of branch beyond it too, and just as a person, just like find the things that you love and can obviously we want to do the things we love for a living, but even if not, just to still do the things you love and create these like cool pathways to liberty that go outside just the conversations, the social media arguments, the things that we all get into, and
because
and like
those social media arguments, those change everyone's minds, right?
right. Yes, we've all wielded the double-edged sword of social media, and it can do a lot of great, and it can also do harm. But I think it is really cool though. So like with things like Clubhouse and stuff, it is cool how we're all connecting and how much the mainstream media narratives are breaking down and almost impossible to maintain, because we're all just like making fun of them at this point. I mean, if anything, I honestly, the inspiration for this short story I'm working on is largely that. It's like the meme energy of like making fun of what the world has normalized and pointing out how absurd it all is. And that's what I want to do with the satire and things is like, through humor, win people over. And also by making fun of ourselves. I mean, I'll be the first to make fun of myself all the time, as you all know.
Yes. I mean, you're paying people to make fun of you sometimes too. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I think everyone's going to have something they love outside of their politics. And I say, just pursue those things as much as you can as well, for your own peace of mind too. It's good for, we get burnt out. Like we have those days or those weeks where we're just like, it's just so much stimulation. It's overwhelming. And you have to like turn it off and step away and think and look in the mirror and be like, all right, am I doing this the most constructive or productive way I can? And am I also like, are you also happy?
And
are you able to like recover and come back to it?
Yeah. And I think like once we go through those burnouts, like we look at other people and for me, like when I look at like Spike Cohen, who went through the campaign and got off the campaign and was like, all right, election's over, back on the campaign trail effectively. Like, it's just like, man, how does that guy not burn out? But you're absolutely right. Like, so within our own lives, we have to do something, right? We're always moving, we're always growing, we're always changing. So whether you could do this in your professional life, or if you guys are creating a podcast on Muddy Waters Media Monday nights, like outside of your normal lives, right? I do this clearly because it's a passion for me. Or if you're Jack Casey and you're writing books and providing a beautiful life and complete luxury and sipping from goblets on a podcast, like
I'm trying. It's straight vodka, by the way. There's no water in this.
I love it. But I think that like really what's important is that when we talk about this, we always look at culture changers and who's impacted you the most in your life, right? Because I don't think any of us were born libertarians. None of us were we like popped out the womb and we're like, taxation's theft, we we had to grow and develop. Most of us came from the right or from the left. Some of us came from a political point, was just like, fuck all this, I'm just kind of against the system. But we all got influenced by somebody out there, and it didn't have to be a politician. It didn't have to be a podcaster. It didn't have to be an author. And maybe it's just been somebody that was in your life. And so for me, like doing your part to help promote this movement that we're on, this growing desire to have freedom once again, is that we have to be that positive influence. And it's, we're going to burn a lot of bridges along the way. Some of them are rightly burned. Some of them are like, I shouldn't have done it that way. But I think that right there is what the foundation has to be, is that we have to be that embodiment and we have to be those positive influences for others. And I know like the reason why I wanted you on for this conversation specifically is because I've seen you in those Clubhouse rooms. And if you guys aren't on Clubhouse, go get on Clubhouse. But I've seen you in those Clubhouse rooms where you're seeing two people argue just like at one another, and then you go, hey guys, let's have like an actual conversation here. You break it down and you bring that unity to where you have the opportunity for both of those people to grow from those. And I think that was one of like the that was the time that I fell in love with Jack Casey. And then, and then I saw Jack Casey the second time and I was like, well, fuck this guy. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, fuck Jack Casey is the hashtag. I always joke like then when people do decide they hate me that they keep saying fuck me, but I won't be able to tell if they're saying it because they were.
Yes.
No, I thank you for saying that. I think we have these different sides for ourselves, and I'm glad you can appreciate that. At heart, I definitely like being a peacemaker and someone who like inspires the shit out of people and wants to just like get to the root of every problem or issue and figure out what's really going on with people, just like we do with the left and the right. We see these feuds going on, and everyone's seeing red and the red haze, and they can't, or in some cases the blue haze, and they can't see what the solution that we are often offering. We're like, it's right in front of you. Here's the solution.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's so hard. It shows how much even in our own circles and even in our own conversations, it is tempting to bring out that fucking sword and start chopping heads once certain lines are drawn. And at times we may need to, and that's perfectly, and everyone's right too. But it is, I do believe in loving one's enemies and opponents and being as merciful as we are righteous, because also, we can each be sometimes the one who looks back and goes, oh yeah, no, there was something I wasn't seeing or getting at the time, right?
Yeah.
And it happens. Like every 6 months or a year, we kind of go through these different phases of thought, and to try and be as charitable to others as we'd want them to be to ourselves, which is something Spike and others say all the time. So that's definitely something we're all trying to remind ourselves of a lot.
I feel like we just need to name drop Spike a couple more times on here, just to let
Yeah.
him know we're listening to him.
Yeah, no, he's still one of the best example setters out there for that kind of thing. And there's a lot of good voices to do.
It's flabbergasting to watch this dude just like come out there and just be like, here, here's, let me just lay out a well-rationed point for you. Like, I already know what you're already thinking for like counterpoints, so let me just go ahead and put those to the side real quick. And
yeah,
so I don't want to go off on a tangent with this or like go too far off the path, but I had Spike on to talk about qualified immunity. Like 3 days later, on some random post on Muddy Waters, we had a topic come up of qualified immunity, and there was a guy that didn't agree with taking away qualified immunity, thought it was a necessary thing. And he had, like, throughout this comment thread, had multiple points of where he was like, well, this. And I read through them all, and I was like, hey, look, if you just watch this episode of Spike Cohen, he answers all of those. Like,
yeah, just link drop. Here's the guy.
I can't force you to watch this, but all of your answers, or all of your questions have already been answered.
Yeah,
which I think is the ultimate aspiration for all of us that are getting engaged on this. But the peacemaking thing is the most important, right? To rationalize, to humanize, and to work with people to say, look, I want to try to help you see.
And maybe we can do both. Maybe there's a nice balance where we can be, slaying and resurrecting. We can be ruthless towards the ideas when we think they're wrong, but still redemptive towards the people who are ensnared by these ideas. I think that's a key thing. It's like, this is a classic hate the sin, love the sinner. It's like you want to, show people why they're being lied to. And I think, and that is a big part of it too. There's something about reminding ourselves that a lot of the people, and let's talk about the politicians and people with the actual power, the actual fucking monsters out there who are really psychotic, but the average person who we have to, and I have to remind myself this too, because but it's like they're also victims of the system that has, brainwashed them. I mean, people have really, we kind of joke that people are becoming zombies, but it's like, they're poisoning the water. People are turning, metaphorically or literally, and people are to see them as fellow victims of a system that has, in some cases, turned them into just willful slaves. And it's sad to see. It's so sad to see, because those of us who are awake to it, you just want to shake people and
you want to
like, don't you want to live and be free? Like, you shake them. Like, come on, like, get up. Here's a sword. Let's go. So, but again, I think, man, I I'm reminded how much humor and entertainment can really persuade people or make a point or show people something that if you were just, going after them, being mean to them about it, it wouldn't necessarily help change their mind, even if you made a certain point.
Yeah.
And I think, and with this satire thing I'm doing, I'm going to be pretty ruthlessly making fun of society and stuff. But I think when you have that like kind of, I don't know, comedic or there's something about that. Or what's the quote, right? So I should know the quote. If you're going to tell someone the truth, make them laugh or they'll kill you. That's kind of, another lesson. Like,
yeah,
I forget who it is. It's probably someone I should know.
Nah, that's fine.
It's probably it might be like, yeah, I don't know.
But no, I mean the point is there, right? Is that if you can make people laugh, they'll listen. If you just hit them with the truth, like we're often so quick to, when things don't align with our own agenda, narrative, perspective, thoughts, etc., when things go against it, we want to fight back against it. We don't even listen to it oftentimes. But if you're laughing about it, there are still comedians to this day that I haven't heard 20 years ago, but their jokes still rattle around in my head because I laughed so hard. And if somebody could relay libertarianism through that and just make me laugh of being like taxation theft, I'm like, like that's done.
Right. Like turn into something funny rather than just like they think we're like nagging at society, like oh, don't you know about this? And instead, if it's like what I'm doing with this satire, it's like the you've got werewolves prowling the streets and enforcing curfew and ripping people's throats out. And you mentioned qualified immunity, and in this story, it's called transformation immunity, where they're like the law enforcement protected from consequence if they rip someone apart while transformed, and stuff, and like this way of kind of showing like, do you see how brutal and unforgiving some of the system is right now by kind of exaggerating or showing like like just switching the metaphors around so that people can kind of see why something might be
just putting it in an analogy form. Put it in an analogy so that way you're not looking at a police officer with a badge that's going through and destroying somebody's life and then being protected with qualified immunity. Now it's a werewolf that gets to just rip your throat out and then go, meh, I was transformed, bro. What do you want from me?
Right, exactly. And the same with like taxation is theft. And in this world, I'm making, the monsters rule, and so they're making everyone use their blood as currency, and they're taxing and taking our blood. They call it the blood gift. And so people of normal, to make fun of people who think it's normal and okay that we pay all these taxes. It's like, I have have someone in there saying something like, what makes you think you have the right to keep 100% of your own blood? Like just pay your blood gift. Like it's and people are getting like drained, and they're like feeling awful because the blood gift rates are going up, and like just something where you can kind of show like, do you see how this is killing people? Do you see how it's kind of like as if you were having your blood drained by these monsters and stuff
I hope that the government in your book is just like spilling blood everywhere they're going, like it's just sloshing around in an open vat.
Dark. It's so fucked up. It's so fun. I've been having way too much fun writing it. It's like dark comedy, political satire, dystopian fiction, all that in one.
Oh man.
And
I might read my first Jack Casey. I might read my first Jack Casey now.
And it's meant it's gonna offend a lot of people, and it's meant to, but to be hopefully funny enough about it and good hearted about it that people get it and they can kind of see what I'm going for with it.
I would love to see like an ardent leftist, like just giant government supporter read your book and just watch their head just explode. This guy's got too much blood in his body.
I know, and I feel like that's the only way you can reach some people. It's like, do you see how kind of silly this is? You see what you're advocating for, and then when the coronavirus stuff happens, it's I won't give everything else away, but it let's just say 2 weeks to flatten the curse is not going to work. So it's my opportunity to, because I think in other stories and things I can do a slower burn, kind of work people into and tell things a different way. But this is my chance to just have some fun and be as dark and weird and messed up as possible with it, to kind of show like, isn't our world kind of crazy? It's like it's run by monsters and we all just think that's normal, and we're all just like handing over our blood, and the witches are, the covens are pushing potions on us and doing these things to kind of establish more control and all that. I mean,
I love it.
It writes itself. It's all right there.
Yeah. No, I love that. If you look at our society right now, like, it does look like a fanfic. It does look like just pure fiction. Like, there's no way that this could be real. But here we are living. I have a question from the audience that I love the words that they decided to use in this question, which is why I had to hop off that train real quick to ask this. How would you release someone enchanted by their moral superiority? When we're talking about changing someone's perspective, changing someone's mind, how do we grapple with somebody who thinks that they're on that moral high ground, and that any other position is not nearly as noble and moral?
That it's a tough one. And I think because we often believe, well, of course we have the moral high ground, right? We want you to keep 100% of your own blood and not have to hand it over to monsters. And yet the person we're speaking to, right, in their mind, I feel like there's two kinds of people. There's some who really think they are protecting and helping others with this stuff. And then I think there's some who right, they think they have this moral high ground and they believe it. They believe what they're saying, like, full-heartedly. And I think it can I don't know if it's always helpful, but sometimes too you can get to the root motivations and see that sometimes people really are, I mean, I guess we've said this before too, they're also just scared. I mean, they're just afraid. They're just afraid, and they find the thing that makes them feel safe, and then they will cover that in whatever moral virtue justification they can.
Just a justification.
Those are all layers on top of the root, which is just fear. These are people who are afraid. They're afraid of, and that's where, your empathy kicks in and the peacemaker comes in, because you're like, it's just very scared people. But then a part of me wants to, shake them up and be like, okay, but facing your fear and dealing with fear is part of being human, and part of like helping fight the things that are scary, and protect people you love, and figure out how to make the world a better place. And I hope that the braver we are with the things we believe, and our courage speaking out and saying stuff that's often not popular, it can help make other people braver, especially like with the COVID stuff, and the people who I think are quietly against a lot of this, but they haven't known if or when it's safe to really like express that. And I think the more of us they see being disobedient, taking off the mask, refusing the vaccine, speaking up about how crazy a lot of this stuff has become, it'll help others find that courage and maybe question the whole worldview. I mean, we all went through it at some point, right? Like we're talking about, like, left and right, wherever you came from, at some point your worldview was challenged and you had to face that. Oh, okay. I will entertain you all with maybe I'll do like a reading here. Let me find something. Oh no, he's back. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. My wife might walk in the door in any minute, so
no, you're good. Continue on. Sorry, I had wife came home, so I had to close the door.
No, I think that is the part of me I like best, when you try to see yourself in the people who believe the things you once believed. And sometimes too, and maybe part of me too, it's like, I know if I could go back in time, I might punch myself in the face. There's a lot of stuff that I'm really mad at myself for, right? I'm like, I would kick my ass because of the dumb shit I was saying to it. But then at the same time, here I am. So I have to try and believe that there are people who are just like me, and others who we're all just drank the authoritarian Kool-Aid and we're just blinded by it at that time.
Yeah, I think that, like, when we talk about like our past person, say what we will about Meta or Facebook or whatever else, but those damn memories, I love
Hail
looking
meta.
back at yeah, hail. But I love looking back at my memories and be like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like,
Yeah.
yes, we should just
And I still do that week to week. I mean, we have these like larger redemption arcs of our thought, but even week to week, I may look back at something I said yesterday and be like, what was I thinking? So if we can give ourselves the time to fix small mistakes and small scale times, I think, yeah, there's so. But the other question is, right, with things happening as fast as they are, how much time do we have? And maybe another question is, who can we reach faster? Who's already closer to us or able to see this quicker? And make sure we're not wasting all of our resources on those who are so far still in authoritarian land that like we could bring them over, but it's going to take 5 years or 10 years, of working on them. Whereas I think the last year and a half, I would imagine there are millions and millions of people who are ready right now to be reached just on one issue or two, I mean, whether it's the vaccine mandates or whatever else, like it reminds me like, okay, yeah, it's not that we can't save everyone or at least a lot of people in the end, but which ones should we prioritize reaching out to first and make as much progress there as we can so that as we have the slow burners in the background, we can still get the people who are, who are just looking for someone to tell them what they've needed to hear, which is, hey, you're right for thinking this shit's pretty fucking crazy. You're right for being a little nervous about the state of the world right now. There's something going on and it's not right. And we, it's been long before coronavirus, but this is definitely the biggest one so far.
Yeah, it's great that you brought up like that whole, like, if you find that one or two topics that you do find that alignment with and agreement with. I gotta turn that down. Yeah. I'm sorry. But when you find that alignment and agreement with somebody and you're able to have that unifying moment, I think that one of the best things about us in the liberty movement or libertarianism, wherever you guys are personally, is that we can say, look, because we got here from this reasoning, right? We have this rationale, and applying it consistently is why we're on this other thing. So as long as we're building those relationships around those one or two topics, over time we're going to be able to have those conversations and be able to make more transitions with them later on down the road. And so this is also like, as you were saying, right, grabbing somebody who's a full-on left-wing or full-on right-wing authoritarian, we should not expect to wake them up tomorrow and then the next day they're signed up for the party and making changes. But what we can expect is that when we show them gratitude or grace, and we treat them as people, and we over time build bridges with them, and we find that one singular thing that we do agree upon, and we build on those things, that maybe 20 years down the road they are a torch-bearing libertarian and bring it about that. And so I don't want us to get caught up in thinking that all this liberty stuff is just in the short term, right? This is how people get really burnt out the way that they have in the past, right? We see people get into the liberty movement that I love and adore still to this day, and I don't want to name drop him too bad, but Shane Sweeney from South Carolina, he was a guy who got me into the party. He had a radio show. He was doing a lot of fantastic things, and he was just like, "Look, I'm gonna pursue liberty in my personal life. I'm gonna be the best damn libertarian out there, but the whole political thing is not for me." And that's great. I love him for making that decision. I don't want him to be burned out, but we have to be consistent with our lives, and he's certainly still remaining that consistency, and he's still inspiring others to take up this journey with us to bring about liberty. And I think that that's so incredibly important, because he's changing young people, old people, and in between people.
And exactly, because the movement is bigger than the party. They're the ideas, as much as we want to, and that's what I hope we do soon, is bring more of these people into the party and into this, whole thing. But there's plenty of people who can still do a lot of good work, even if it's not explicitly, the libertarian stuff. If it's still getting people to think differently about things, and and anyone in that range of where we're at, I think is doing good work wherever they're at, and that's that's fine. I certainly hope to bring more people in and so forth. But yeah, no, I get it. It's tough, and especially with everything going on lately, I understand people's urgency. I felt it myself, and it can make you angry. And
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I've got. If you'll see in these stories, certainly plenty of anger to express, but to save a lot of that based energy for the real monsters at the top, people with the seats of power,
Yeah.
like Spike going after the fucking ATF on their
Oh my God.
like to direct all of our heat towards the people who are
Actually causing the problems.
yeah, in the ones who are really, and not that we can't still be redemptive there for those who renounce their ways and maybe beg, but for the average person, it's an interesting line to walk. It's really tough. I struggle with it often, as you know, and it's a party that has this like righteous anger, and sometimes it just feels good to like let it out, and maybe that's why people have other outlets to get some of the power and emotion out. For me, I know it's fiction. In that way, it's not being directed necessarily in targeting individuals or trying to do more harm than good. So
yeah,
fight the ideas, slay the dragons. Keep our guns pointed at metaphorical guns pointed at the
very metaphorical.
Yeah, the people.
Super duper metaphorical.
Keep our swords. We're not worried about swords. Keep our swords pointed at the people in power who are fucking all of us over. And
and understand that, like, going off of that, like, understand that it's just because they have supporters doesn't mean that the supporters aren't. Their ignorance should not be a death sentence, right? And we see it all the time, right? We, for lack of a better term, these statists, right? Both sides of the aisle, they've fallen into, we have to hate this other party. We have to love what our party is doing. Even when we hated the other party for doing what our party is doing, we have to maintain that consistency. The sheep line that's been used for so long, this is true, right? These are people that aren't thinking, they're not doing their research. This is why libertarianism is so boring, because we go and we say, well, how the hell does this Fed work? And then, like, after coming out of our cavern 6 months later, like, not shaving and having a big beard or having hair like Jack Casey, like, we crawl out of our cavern and we're like, let's talk about the Federal Reserve, and everyone's like, we're talking about voting IDs. Like, we gotta talk about the Fed. The Fed is destroying our lives.
Well, right. And instead of saying, hitting them with the Federal Reserve Bank right off the bat, for example, you tell a little story in which they're, this monster society is using the Fetal Reserve Bank to increase the blood supply based on the future generations of children, to there's lots of fun,
because
dark,
if they can,
metaphors you can use to make fun of the whole
because
system.
If they could just create their own blood however they want to, why are they taxing us? I mean,
right.
What?
Yeah, thanks to your sacrifice of your unborn children, aka future generations, we can now increase the blood supply indefinitely. I'm sure it'll totally work. Yeah, exactly.
Just go have babies. Just go make all the babies you can.
Yeah.
But make sure you guys are married so that we can get a bigger tax.
Oh my God, yeah. I do have hope, though. We all have our dark days where we're just like, oh my God, society can't be saved. What's going on? Yeah, and then there's other days where you see people pushing back, and I think especially over the last year and a half. Hi, Bean. Hi, good. Hold on.
Yeah, over the last year and a half, though, definitely was like a good opportunity for us libertarians to step out and to bring people together. I think that. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, no, I think one thing I've been really excited by is, I really think this COVID stuff, the whole agenda, everything going on, I feel like it's the biggest, most pressing radical shift probably since 9/11. I mean, and that if on that issue alone there are tens of millions of people who whatever their politics or thing are at least starting to go, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Then yeah, maybe if there's people we can reach there, we're not going to sell them on everything else right away. They're not going to necessarily know or care about this or that, but whatever the big thing affecting millions of people's lives is right now, if we can just reach them on that and show them we care, and then we can work on the other stuff that maybe they're not as perfectly libertarian on as we'd all like, and
it gets them on the path at least.
Yeah, and just tell them, hey, there's a better way, there's a better option, and even if that's in again too, like, as much, I also love the recent electoral success we've had.
Oh.
But even without having to wait for elections, like I've been saying, like, just disobeying stuff. Like, we don't have to wait for electoral victory for libertarian ideas to win. If the culture starts getting what we're going for and liking what we're saying, we can kind of win long before it ever comes to an election. And I truly think that is what will allow us to win in more elections, is because we'll already be winning the ideas and people. And so I think there's hope. It's just how much can we do fast enough, and can we reprioritize our focus so that we can bring people to this thing?
Yeah, we definitely have to have that cultural shift. I mean, everyone always says that politics is downstream of culture. So we have to change the culture. We have to change our society. We have to change the way we look at our neighbors. I mean, growing up, I knew all my neighbors' names. I've lived in this house now for 3 or 4 years. I know 2 of my neighbors. There's some neighbors I frankly don't want to know, but I've looked at them and I was like, not my cup of tea. Blame me for judging the book by its cover. But the point is like, we don't have what was normal for us growing up, and going off of COVID with this quote unquote new normal, which suddenly has dropped off the face of everyone's vernacular. We have to get back to being a society again. We have to get back to seeing neighbors, to seeing people in society, and not saying, what kind of a disease could you potentially be throwing at me right now? But instead going, hey, look, what's your name? What are you doing? Like, how can I be there for you in this shitty thing that we call life? Because our lives are already made terrible by the government. It's already, without even the government, just think about life in general, right? Just being able to provide for yourself, for your family, doing this day in and day out for the rest of your lives. I mean, that's difficult enough. And then government comes on and just topples on a bunch of regulations, taxes, and everything else. Like, couldn't we at least make our society work with one another?
Well, especially with all this stuff with the vaccinated, and like, I mean, it's I'll admit it's been really scary and disheartening to see the kind of mob think and the kind of, like, the stuff we read about either in history or the dystopian novels we read or whatever, where people can allow themselves to be really just persecutions and awful, and just and it I hope that what we do is, like you said, like we can show people, like, yeah, look, these people you're being told to hate on TV for not getting a vaccine or whatever, like, these are human beings and they're not a threat to you, and the fear they're selling you to make you afraid of people and afraid of, like, the government not being controlled, like to just it's
just fear mongering.
It's been really tough. And
to break that veil.
To show people how to be human again, if that makes sense. It's like the government wants us all to be as monstrous as they are, and all we have to do is say, no, I'm gonna love people, I'm gonna fight for people, I'm gonna be on the same side as people I don't even like or agree with on stuff. There's gonna be, I hope under the libertarian umbrella we can show how to get the most liberal person and the most conservative person to actually be on the same side of something and be like, I don't agree with half the shit you're doing with your life, and you don't agree with half the shit I'm doing with my life, but who cares? Because neither one of us wants to force it on each other, and we're both, like, so mad at the people in power that we just don't care anymore. We don't care. I don't care what your I don't care what gender you are. I don't care your skin color. Like, it's just, yeah, let's go kick some monster ass, and let's liberate humanity, because if anything, what they benefit from is us hating each other and being divided and categorizing ourselves in whatever identity group or thing to keep us separated and thinking like that, and to keep us not united against the actual powerful elites and the people who are really, really fucking us all over. And maybe some of us more than others, but man, are they fucking all of us somehow.
Yes.
And so, you know.
And that whole thing, if I could just take that into a pill and just start dropping it into people, like, that would be amazing. Just be able to truly change that. And I want to go off of another comment from the comment section. Yeah. Of course, with this is that, you know, it's not a question, it's just a comment, but it's you know, we have to keep engaging with these one-on-ones with these individuals, because when you reach out to one and you inspire one person to make a change, they're going to influence more people, and so on and so forth. And so we all have this opportunity through whatever lens that you are engaging in the liberty movement, whatever angle you're taking in order to influence others in this culture and the society and politics and legislation, whatever it is. When you guys are able to affect one person, there's unlimited possibilities of how that person is going to affect other people. And so we can quickly and easily have like the snowflake theory, where it just takes one and then suddenly you've got like a blizzard happening in front of you. So never stop doing this. Never stop being Jack Casey and writing books. Never be Spike Cohen and just being an absolute political machine. Never stop being Matt Wright and holding down Muddy Waters of Freedom on Tuesday nights for Spike to go off of the show notes. I didn't say that out loud. You know, never stop doing whatever it is that you're doing. If you're just that libertarian that works on the assembly line that just rambles at everybody and you get them to think about stuff, never stop doing that. We have to do our part, and I don't know. I love listening to Jack Casey, and if you guys are not on Clubhouse, you guys got to get over to Clubhouse and listen to Jack Casey. Be that unifier.
You're too kind. You're bringing out my best side, my better side.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Jack Casey I love. Is the Jack?
Look,
go ahead.
And if you you know, if you want to be an asshole too, do it, but at least be funny, make people laugh. People laugh if you want to be an asshole too. They'll appreciate you for it, and I think you can show people you love them, and everything we're fighting for, whether you're being Mr. Nice Guy or a funny a-hole.
Just sell it. Just sell it to people. However you're going to sell it. If you're going to be a great marketing salesman and you're going to sell it to all the best of them, you're probably going to have humor, like Jack said. If you want to just be that boring, bland marketer, I don't care. Maybe somebody's going to pick up some of your stuff. Just go out there and sell liberty. You guys will impart more of a difference than what you guys may expect when you guys are doing this. So it's important that we all do our part out there, and Jack Casey is certainly doing this. And so, Jack, can you plug all of the places that we can find you, your literature, and your Nutting Every Day November book?
Yes. So theroyalgreen.com is still valid. It will take you to the same site. It's now been rebranded as jackcaseybooks.com.
Ooh.
Now that I have more than one series. Yes, it's not fully operational yet, but this new one is beginning, and hopefully many more. I have a lot of stories and things I want to tell. Some are very on the nose, satirical, like this one. You know, libertarians got a kick out of it. It's just me having a good time, being weird, and then others are going to be more, you know, probably more easily picked up by the mainstream or by general readers too. But yeah, jackcaseybooks.com, you can find everything there. And yeah, whether you love the fantasy stuff or you just love anything that has some libertarian themes, and yeah, you can find it all there. I don't know what else to plug at this time. But
I think one important distinction to make is that you're talking to me about the Royal Green series before, and that this is not just for libertarians who already agree with the libertarian philosophy, but this is also give it to your statist friends, give it to somebody who's not quite a libertarian yet, and let it develop over the course of those 3 books. Let it develop from just a questioning idea to a here's why libertarian is what it is, and allow for these books to sell libertarianism in another meaningful and impactful way. Am I close on that?
No, that's perfect. I was gonna say the Royal Green series is basically my own self-reflection and chronicling of my own journey, both politically and spiritually in other ways, and kind of chronicling that because I like many of us, I started with very authoritarian views. And part of when I was writing that was me starting to question those views and kind of put them on trial and ask myself those tough questions through the characters. So in that story, yes, exactly. You see that journey towards liberty kind of very organically and naturally. And then for those of us who just, are just looking to have a good time and make fun of the whole system already, this new one I'm working on will be for you, because we all need just sometimes to let all of our humor and angst and darkness and weirdness, and that's what I'm doing with this one now. So don't know when yet. A couple weeks maybe. I'll announce more stuff soon, but you can see it on that website, jackcaseybooks.com.
jackcaseybooks.com. Perfect. All right, well, I appreciate it so much, man. we gotta wrap things up here, so you gotta listen to my crazy ramblings, but it was an absolute pleasure to have you on tonight, man. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, because it is November and you're supposed to be doing something right now. But thank you so much for coming on. We for those in the audience, we've changed this date for Jack Casey to come on 1,600 times roughly, and every time it's been on me. So don't blame him. Don't carry him away on a torch. But
I'm happy to be here.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. But with that, guys, I've got to wrap it up for tonight. I love you all. Appreciate you all, guys. You guys got to make sure you guys are getting out there and doing your part to the best that you guys can. Sell this liberty, make the changes, change culture, change the society we're in. But of course, you guys aren't done with Muddy Waters Media this week. Tomorrow night, you've got Spike and Matt coming on for Muddy Waters of Freedom itself as they traverse those muddied waters. Wednesday with... No, it is this week. Okay. Wednesday, you've got Spike with My Fellow Americans. And Thursday night, Writer's Block with Matt Wright. And then Friday night, on the eve of the South Carolina Libertarian Convention, which if you guys are in the area, you guys should go to, is, of course, the Cajun Libertarian Show from Bayous to Igloos. So make sure you guys are tuning into Muddy Waters of Freedom throughout the rest of the week. And of course, if you guys are still looking for more good content tonight, you guys can go over and check out Cajun Libertarian on his Facebook and YouTube page, starting in about 30 minutes. You guys are more than welcome to hop over there, show him some love before he gets here on Friday night. And of course, if you guys are looking for more exclusive content and want a justification for getting on to anchor.fm/muddywaters/subscribe, this Saturday will be exclusive content for you. So with that, you guys be well, be good, keep fighting good fight. Love you, Jack Casey, for coming on, and love each and every one of you guys for listening and watching tonight. Take care, and I'll see you guys next week. No, I won't. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. But next week will be Liberty Roundtable with Ashley and Sean Hickman. You guys have a great night.